الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وسيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Chapter number 25. We began chapter number 25 before Salat al-Asr. We mentioned the objective of the chapter, and that the main objective of the chapter was to clarify some types of sihr and some types of magic, and we mentioned that al-iyafa, we were in the dalil al-awwal, the first dalil of hadith Qabisa al-Hilali, where he mentions inna al-iyafata wa-tarqa wa-tiyarata min al-jib. So he mentions three things that are part of sihr. So we mentioned al-iyafa and issues pertaining to al-iyafa, and now we will mention at-tarq. So at-tarq basically is at-tarq is drawing lines on the sand. So a person draws lines in the sand and interprets those lines to mean certain things, or he or she draws these lines to predict events that will occur in the future. Okay, so that's lines. Also, at-tarq can also mean ad-darbu bil-hasa, the throwing of pebbles or marbles or anything. Throwing marble, throwing pebbles, striking pebbles against each other to basically predict events that will happen in the future. Another example of at-tarq is also an example is like palm reading is another example of at-tarq, or using an instrument. Can be used as, for example, looking at what they say is a crystal ball, for example, gazing at a crystal ball and then interpreting something or making some ambiguous statements that could mean certain events could occur in the future, وهكذا. So that's the meaning of at-tarq. Then we mentioned then the hadith mentions at-tiyara, or at-tiyara is the ta'rif of at-tiyara اسم لكل ما يحمل على الإقدام أو الإحجام. It is a term that refers to anything that causes a person to do something or to stop doing something. It causes a person either to move forward and perform a task, or to stop and refrain from doing a task. This is called at-tiyara. So in short, it's basically omens. It's basically omens. So the Prophet ﷺ made all of these three things, وهي الطرق والعيافة والطرق والطيرة, all of them to be من الجبت, من السحر. And then the qawl of Al-Hasan rahimahullah ta'ala, Al-Hasan al-Basri, where he explains al-jibt to mean rannatu shaitan. So he says al-jibtu huwa rannatu shaitan. So the meaning of ranna, there are two meanings to rannatu shaitan. The first meaning of ranna is a high-pitched scream is called a ranna. So a high-pitched scream is called a ranna. And the second is a low-pitched scream that resembles, or low-pitched sound, or a low-pitched wailing sound that basically resembles the sound of something that is sad or crying. That can also mean rannatu shaitan. So if the murad, or if the meaning of ranna is the first meaning, then it means that all of these things that are mentioned are from the actions of the shaitan. And if the meaning of ranna is the wailing sound of like a crying entity or a crying person who is saddened, and the scream of a sad person, for example, then the meaning is that the shaitan, because of what he sees from the creation, if they are worshipping Allah, this saddens the shaitan, makes the shaitan sad, and as a result he cries, he wails, and he is saddened to such an extent that he tries to cause the misguidance of the khalq, of the madhkurat. How? By causing them to do al-iyafa, at-tarq and at-tiyara. This is how he basically takes revenge upon Bani Adam to cause them to become misguided by causing them to commit this shirk. Then he mentions the next dalil. الدليل الثاني is the hadith of Ibn Abbas قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, where the Prophet says من اقتبس شعبة من النجوم, the hadith. And this hadith was narrated by Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah بإسناد صحيح. So the dilala is the fact that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, whoever learns a branch of astrology, then this person has learned a branch from the branches of as-sihr, and basically the astrology, basically what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about here is ilm al-tanjim, which there's a specific chapter about this type of knowledge and the rulings pertaining to learning astrology and astronomy and so forth. Basically it is the knowledge which basically it is the knowledge of the unseen, or seeking through the stars the knowledge of the unseen, or looking at the stars, gazing at the stars to basically predict events that will happen in the future, or gazing at the stars to predict things that are from the unseen. Basically this is called ilm al-tanjim. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says, whoever learns this type of knowledge or tries to learn this type of knowledge, then it is as though they are learning one of the branches of as-sihr. And obviously we'll mention later on the two types of knowledge or sciences, ilm al-ta'thir wa ilm al-tasyir, the knowledge of ta'thir and tasir, and the difference between when we get to Bab al-Tanjim, inshallah. الدليل الثالث, dalil number 3 is the hadith of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, من عقد عقدة ثم نفث فيها فقد سحر. This hadith is considered to be da'if, and it's considered to be min marasil al-Hasan, is mursal on al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. However, the hadith is still, the meaning of the hadith is considered to be authentic, while the chain of the hadith is considered to be inauthentic. And the mahallu shahid here is the fact that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described sihr, that whoever blows into a knot seeking the help of a devil or the shaitan, then this person has committed sihr. And obviously we know the ruling of sihr. Dalil al-rabi' is the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, ألا هل أنبئكم ما العضى, يعني ما السحر. Should I not tell you what is sorcery, what is magic? And the Prophet mentions an-namima, spreading rumors, spreading tales between people to cause them to cause friction and fitna between them. This is considered to be a part of sihr, because the instigator is someone who is not known and is hidden. Likewise, the magician, when he does his magic, or sorcerer, when they do their magic and their sorcery, they bewitch someone. No one knows who the instigator is. The family of the one who is bewitched are unaware who that sahir is. So they cannot take revenge. They can't basically take any revenge. So in that sense, the one who spreads rumors is like the sahir. They are hidden. No one knows who the instigator of this particular rumor is. Number 5, الدليل الخامس is the hadith of the Prophet, إن من البيان لسحرا in Bukhari and Muslim. From eloquence, or from the eloquence is magic, meaning that basically linguistically, when a person is eloquent, and this eloquence is basically causes them to take the right of another person, or to cause evil between people because of the tongue, the eloquence of their tongue, then this is considered to be sihr, by looking at the effects of their tongue and how their tongue affects the hearts of other people. So here the Mu'allif rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned so far, how many types of sihr do we have? We have 7 types of sihr so far. Let's count them one by one. The first is al-iyafa, that's number 1. The second is al-tarq. So al-iyafa, that's the first one, using birds as charms and omens. Then we have a tarq, drawing lines on the sand, or throwing pebbles against each other. Then we have a tira, which is just generally omens. Then we have a tanjim, a ta'thiri, astrology, number 4. Then we have al-uqad al-manfuth fiha, number 5. Blowing, tying knots and blowing into them is a type of sihr, that's number 5. Then we have an-namima, telling tales, is number 6. And number 7 is al-bayan, eloquence, eloquence in speech. is also another type of sihr. All of them are muharrama, all of them are impermissible. So far we have 7 types of sihr. And the reason tanjim, astrology, and namima, and eloquence of tongue were considered to be sihr is by looking at the linguistic meaning of sihr, because we mentioned that sihr linguistically means ma khafiya wa latufa sababu, that which is hidden, and its cause and the cause of this thing is something that is unknown. So he mentioned some adilla, or some issues in the actual chapter. الثالثة, number 3, he says أن علم النجوم من أنواع السحر, that the knowledge of astrology is from the types of sihr, meaning the knowledge of astrology, where a person thinks or believes that the stars and the galaxies influence events in the universe. They influence the birth of a person, they influence the death of a person, they influence the rise of governments, the fall of governments, they influence certain things. If a person, for example, believes that because of the fact that they were born in a particular month in that year, in a particular month, and their birthday falls into a star, for example, from the horoscopes, and because of that they will be happy, or they are certain that they behave in a certain way. This is ilm al-ta'thir. This is basically part of sihr and magic, and it's impermissible to believe in this. Number 6, he says أن من ذلك بعض الفصاحة. From types of sihr is eloquence of tongue. This is something we have benefited. So basically regarding fasaha, eloquence of tongue, this is something that the people who are not upon the haqq will always resort to, especially because they have no Quran and Sunnah. They don't have the Quran and the Sunnah, so they resort to eloquence of tongue. This is the best thing that they can do. So that's why this eloquence of tongue is extremely dangerous. That's why we always the difference between the people of the Sunnah and the people of Bid'ah is that Ahlul Bid'ah, the first thing they do, أولا يعتقدون ثم يستدلون. As for Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, يستدلون ثم يعتقدون. That's the difference. So the people of innovation, first they have their corrupt ideology and aqidah, and then they go looking for the proof and the evidence. When they can't find it, then they try to use falsafa and their own interpretations and their own eloquence of tongue, which is part of sihr. As for Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they first have the daleel, they look at the verse, the ayah, based on what the verse says and the hadith says, then they have their aqidah. So their aqidah is based upon daleel. Whereas the people of innovation is the opposite. They first have their corrupt ideology, then they go looking for a daleel to basically match or to basically support their corrupt ideology. So Al-Imam Al-Awza'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he used to say, إِيَّاكَ وَآرَاءَ الرِّجَالِ وَإِن زَخْرَفُوهَا لَكَ بِالْقَوْلِ. I warn you and stay away from the opinions of people, of men, even if they were to try and beautify their opinions with speech. So that's not a mi'yar. Nowadays people look at the eloquence of a speaker before they listen. So they look at a speaker, if he's eloquent and he was given bayan, fasaha, and he can basically relate to them, they say, oh mashallah, we will go and listen to so and so because he is eloquent. So their mi'yar and their measurement in listening to someone is how beautiful their tongue is. Whereas the sharia, the legislation, if you look at many adillah, the adillah, and they basically belittle eloquence of tongue in many places. There's many places, and this is one example where eloquence of tongue, just being eloquent of tongue, is not praiseworthy in itself. In itself, the essence of being eloquent it's not a praiseworthy thing to have eloquency of tongue, unless that eloquency of tongue is used to support the Quran and the Sunnah, to clarify the Quran and the Sunnah with dalil, with adillah. So that's why here the Prophet ﷺ mentions inna min al-bayani la sihra. Bab number 26, bab ma jaa fil kuhani wa nahwihim. كيف أخي؟
What if you use the eloquence of tongue not in the way of Quran and Sunnah, but also not in a harmful way, like a general speech or a speaker or a lawyer or something?
Then it's mubah. Al-hukm, if you use it in any other way, in any other walk of life, then obviously it's mubah. It's something that's allowed. But what we're talking about is eloquence of speech in matters of the religion, where a person speaks without knowledge, but they're so eloquent they can cause the people to become misguided because of their eloquence of speech. That's what we're talking about. So that's madhmoom, that's blameworthy, because it's not supported. They don't support their speech with Quran and Sunnah. طيب باب ما جاء في الكهان ونحوهم, issues pertaining this chapter number 26. باب ما جاء في الكهان ونحوهم, chapter pertaining to al-kuhan, soothsayers and those that are similar to them. طيب روى مسلم في صحيحه عن بعض أزواج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, Imam Muslim narrates in his Sahih that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من أتى عرافا فسأله عن شيء فصدقه لم تقبل له صلاة 40 يوما. Whoever comes to a soothsayer and asks this soothsayer something and believes in this soothsayer, then their salah is not accepted for 40 days. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من أتى كاهنا, whoever comes to a soothsayer فصدقه بما يقول and believes him in what he says, فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, then this person has disbelieved in what was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. رواه أبو داود. وللأربعة والحاكم, and in the Sunan, and Al-Hakim also mentions, وقال, and he says, صحيح على شرطهما, this hadith is authentic and it's upon the condition of Bukhari and Muslim. He says, من أتى عرافا أو كاهنا, whoever comes to a arraf or a kahin, يعني both are soothsayers, we'll know the difference between them later on, فصدقه, and believes بما يقول, in what they say, فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, this person has disbelieved in what was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then he says, ولأبي يعلى بسند جيد عن ابن مسعود مثله موقوفا. Also Abu Ya'la narrates from Ibn Mas'ud similar to this hadith. And then he mentions dalil number 5 عن عمران بن حسين مرفوعا, ليس منا من تطير أو تطير له. He is not from us one who يعني is seeks omen or seeks charms and omens, أو تطير له, or charms and omens are sought for him. Okay, أو تكهن أو تكهن له, and he's not from us the one who goes to a kahin or goes to a soothsayer, or أو تكهن له, or basically or he's not from us the one who adopts and practices the act of soothsaying or sorcery, أو تكهن له, or goes and seeks and asks a soothsayer, أو سحر, and he's not from us the one who commits sorcery, أو سحر له, or is sorcery or magic is committed on their behalf, is done on their behalf. And then the Prophet says, وَمَنْ أَتَى كَاهِنًا, whoever comes to a kahin, a soothsayer, فَصَدَّقَهُ بِمَا يَقُولُ, and believes him in that which he says, فَقَدْ كَفَرَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم, this person has disbelieved in what was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. This hadith is narrated by Al-Bazzar بإسناد جيد. And then he mentions dalil number 6, ورواه الطبراني في الأوسط بإسناد حسن عن من حديث ابن عباس دون قوله ومن أتى إلى آخره قال البغوي. So he mentions the same hadith ibn Abbas, and then he mentions the commentary of Al-Imam Al-Baghawi, and he said, Al-Imam Al-Baghawi says, Al-Arraf, or this a soothsayer who is called Al-Arraf, هو الذي يدعي معرفة الأمور بمقدمات يستدل بها على المسروق ومكان الضالة ونحو ذلك. He says that he is the one who claims the knowledge of the unseen. He claims the knowledge of the unseen, يعني يدعي معرفة الأمور, معرفة المغيبات. So this person is one who claims, جزاك الله خير, he's the one who claims معرفة الأمور, the knowledge of the unseen, بمقدمات يستدل بها على المسروق, by looking at indicators, by looking at basically symbols and signs that they use to indicate to a lost item, for example, or a lost a stolen item, a lost or a stolen item. So that's the Arraf. So the Arraf is someone who claims the knowledge of the unseen. Okay, this is what he's claiming. Someone comes to him, he claims he knows the knowledge of the unseen. So then he uses certain tactics and strategies, okay, to basically indicate to a lost or a stolen item. This is called a Arraf. وقيل, and it is said, هو الكاهن. They are both the same. Al-Arraf and Al-Kahin are the same. والكاهن, they say, هو الذي يخبر عن المغيبات في المستقبل. A kahin is one who can predict the future. Okay, who claims to know the future, what will happen in the future, who will be born next year, where the rain will fall, what will happen, يعني who will get married, who will die. This is basically a kahin. وقال أبو العباس Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions the difference between them. He says Al-Arrafu ismun lil-kahin wal-munajjim wal-rammal. No, he says that Al-Arraf is a term يعني for Al-Kahin and Al-Munajjim, يعني the soothsayer, and the Munajjim, the astrologer, wal-Rammal, and the one who draws lines on the sand, وَنَحْوِهِمْ ممن يتكلم, and similar to them, and anyone who speaks about معرفة الأمور بهذه الطرق, anyone who speaks about the knowledge of the unseen by using their same methods and strategies. وقال ابن Abbas says في قوم, regarding a people, يكتبون أباجاد, who write the alphabet, وينظرون في النجوم, and gaze at the stars. Ibn Abbas says regarding the people who gaze at the stars and write the alphabet, ما أرى من فعل ذلك له عند الله من خلاق. I don't think that anyone who does this has any share in the sight of Allah. Meaning that these people who write the alphabet, not to learn the alphabet obviously, but use the alphabet as numbers, and try and basically use the alphabet in يعني basically to tell them of the knowledge of the unseen. For example, people who think that certain letters, when they are joined together, then this means that this will happen in the future. Or use numbers, for example, to mean certain things like in the West, for example, they believe that the 666 is the number of the beast, they say, the number of the devil. So these, or number 13 indicates to this. Or if you have these numbers joined together somehow, it means that this will happen, or that will happen, or this person will be born, or a great person will die this year, or a great person will be born. So Ibn Abbas says regarding these people, ما أرى من فعل ذلك من الله عند الله من نسي. I don't think that these people have any share in the يعني with Allah. مقصود الترجمة. So what is the مقصود of this tarjama? Meaning, what is the objective of this tarjama? The objective of this tarjama is to clarify issues pertaining to soothsayers and those that are similar to them, and to mention the grave warning and the grave punishment for whoever goes to them or whoever practices sorcery or soothsaying. So when we say soothsayers, ikhwan, we mean fortune tellers. For example, fortune tellers. When you go to a circus, for example, usually in circuses, what do you find? You find يعني, a person who sits in a corner somewhere, looking very mysterious, wearing very mysterious clothing, and they have a crystal ball, or they're sitting there, and people go there. Some people go there for fun, يعني, والعياذ بالله, they go there just to see, oh, let me just go there and ask. And then we're talking about this type, so fortune tellers, oracles, they call them also. Another name that they give to them are oracles, for example. These are basically what we mean by arraf and what we mean by kahin. So al-kuhan is jam'u kahin, وهو الذي يخبر عن المغيبات بالأخذ عن مسترقي السمع من الجن. So the kahin, the soothsayer, is the one who basically speaks about matters of the unseen by taking from those jinn that eavesdrop on the angels. Remember the hadith, we passed this chapter. There are jinn that eavesdrop on the angels. So before the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was nothing to stop them. But when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent, Allah sent shooting stars to stop them from, or as a punishment for them, against them for eavesdropping on the angels, because the jinn, Allah has given them power to fly. So they basically climb on top of each other until they get to the as-sama al-ula, the first heaven where the angels live, the first angels live. And then they listen, eavesdrop. It's like someone coming to your door eavesdropping. So they try and pick any statements of the angels, anything that the angels say. So if the angels talk about the birth of someone, for example, the topmost jinni will send a message to the next one beneath him, then that one will send a message to the third one, the fourth one, until it gets to the ear of the soothsayer, who then is happy. Then he can tell hundreds of lies, but then he tells this one correct prediction, he makes this one correct prediction, and then this is the cause of fitna for the people. But sometimes before the jinni is able to convey the message to the next jinni, a shooting star comes and kills the jinni and stops the jinni from basically carrying the message on. So now the soothsayer, his chain of narrations is cut now. He has no way, but he has to give something to the people. So what does he do, or what does she do? They lie, they deceive the people, they make ambiguous statements that could come true, and it could happen. It could be a fluke, but they say it in such a way that they make so many predictions that people are unable to tell what they actually said, and they make ambiguous statements because they're experienced. They know what to say to certain individuals. They read people's reactions, for example, and if they say a statement and they don't see any reaction from the person, they know that this is not the path to take, so they say something else. And that person, for example, could be someone who is in distress, who has some marital problems, for example, or he could be someone looking for a spouse, okay, and they may know this somehow by looking at the person's hal and their situation. So then they say to the person, you will meet someone this week, or you will meet someone next week, or next month, or this year you will meet the love of your life, mathalan, an example. So then this person, he believes in this. Now this soothsayer said something ambiguous, so he believes in this. So this person, you see this person everywhere they are like a child waiting for some gift to come to them. So they look for something. So anyone they meet, they think, could this be the person? So subconsciously they want it to happen. So then they think they've met the person. They meet someone, they may even marry them, and they think that's the person that the sahir or the soothsayer was referring to. Then they say to themselves, that sahir or that soothsayer must have been correct. They must have some knowledge of the unseen. Then what happens? They go and tell their loved ones. They say, I went to this sorcerer. They are legitimate in what they say. I have experienced it myself. Then the fitna, that's how the fitna basically begins. So this is basically a kahin, the meaning of a kahin. So so basically the arraf and the munajjim and the ramal, these things, and the kahin, all of them have one common denominator, which is the fact that they all claim the knowledge of the unseen by seeking the help of whom? Of the jinn. By seeking the help of the jinn. However, they differ in how their strategies. They differ in their strategies. So the arraf, for example, will use things that are apparent. The arraf will use things that are seen and apparent to indicate to things that are unseen. So for example, they will use the lines on the ground, pebbles. So they throw pebbles hakada. They have pebbles, and then they throw the pebbles hakada, and then they see a pattern. They claim to see a pattern rather. Okay, they don't see anything, but they see a pattern. So then they say that the person who's there, the ignorant fool, miskin who's there, will think that they have seen something. Or they use a crystal ball which they look at to according to them, obviously. This is bilisani halihim. This isn't true, obviously, but to the untrained eye, the crystal ball is just white or black or whatever. But to them, they can see things. Okay, and then as they're looking at the crystal ball, they make faces. And they make horrified faces, for example, to scare the person. Or they smile to make the person at ease. They act basically. Okay, all of this للتلبيس على من على ضعاف العقول والقلوب. Those who are weak in their intellect and their heart. Okay, so the arraf uses something, whether it is a cloak, whether it is anything. They could get this cup and make this cup into a special cup, for example. Or they could even tell the person, they could do some things and give water and put onions and mixture of stuff, and then say to the person, before I even predict anything for you, drink this. Wal-'iyadhu billah. So the person drinks it, and then they say, close your eyes now. They close their eyes. So they play these funny tricks on people. So the arraf uses these tactics. As for the munajjim, the astrologer has another strategy. His strategy or her strategy is basically looking at the actual stars. So they look at the stars and they look at the movements of the stars, the pattern in the stars, They gaze at the stars, and then based on that, they make their predictions. As for the ramal, then min al-ramal, they use sand, they use lines, they start to draw lines, sticks, anything. They read palms, they tell the person, give me your palm, and then they start to draw their finger, they look at the person's palm, and then they look at the little lines that the veins there in the palm, and then they make their predictions based on this. And the kahin is different. The soothsayer, the kahin uses basically the jinn that eavesdrop on the angels to make predictions. So although their names differ, they all have one common denominator, which is they all claim the knowledge of the unseen. How? But they use different strategies. How they do it is different, and we've just mentioned the difference. طيب. Now the Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions 7 adilla, 7 evidences. The first dalil is the hadith of some of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the Prophet says, "Man ata arrafan fasa'alahu an shay." This hadith was narrated by Imam Muslim. طيب. And Imam Ahmad has a ziyada where he says, فصدقه بما يقول. So in the Muslim, من أتى عرافا فسأله عن شيء لم تقبل له صلاة 40 يوما. عند الإمام أحمد there is a زيادة من أتى عرافا فسأله عن شيء فصدقه بما يقول فقد كفر لم تقبل له صلاة 40 يوما. طيب, this is the ziyada, and it's a correct and authentic ziyada. So the hadith indicate the mahallu shahid is whoever goes to a arraf, a soothsayer, their salah is not accepted for 40 days. So their salah, the negation of acceptance here is the negation of reward. Okay, not the burden of the salah has been lifted from them, but they won't be rewarded for 40 days for the salah that they pray, but they have to pray. This is their punishment. Okay, this is their punishment. They won't be rewarded, but they still have to pray. So if that's the case, the mahallu shahid, if that's the case to the one who goes to the arraf, then what about the arraf himself? What about the kahin and the soothsayer himself? Wal-iyad billah. Obviously his hal is ashaddu wa ashad, is even worse. His punishment is even worse. So that's the first dalil. The second dalil is the hadith of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man ata kahinan fasaddaqahu bima yaqul." Whoever comes to a kahin and believes in that which that which he says, فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the hadith, although this particular narration is considered to be da'if, however, there are shawahid. There are things that basically deem it to be authentic. There are other narrations that strengthen it. And the dilala of the hadith is man ata kahinan, whoever comes to a kahin, whoever comes to a soothsayer, whether the Prophet says فَقَدْ كَفَرَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم, that this person has fallen into kufr, and has basically disbelieved in what was revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the kufr here, the kufr that is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is referring to here is al-asghar, is the minor kufr. طيب, the kufr here is the minor kufr. So both ahadith, both of the ahadith, the hadith in Muslim with the ziyada of Imam Ahmad, and this hadith here in the Nasa'i, both of these ahadith indicate to the same thing. So the first one was their salah is not accepted for 40 days. Okay? And the second one is basically that they have disbelieved, but their disbelief is considered to be asghar, is a minor kufr. Although obviously it's a major sin, subhanAllah, what they've done is a major sin. But the kufr that they've fallen into is not major kufr, is considered to be minor kufr. However, there are some scholars who have said that the kufr here is major kufr. The kufr in that the Prophet ﷺ is referring to is major kufr. So there's a slight difference of opinion, Wallahu a'lam. But because of the ziyad of Imam Ahmad, فَصَدَّقَهُ بِمَا يَقُولُ, we say that both of them mean that the person has fallen into kufr asghar, jam'an bayna al-hadithain. So there are some people who say, why is it kufr asghar when the kahin or the soothsayer basically claims the knowledge of the unseen? Now, Here we're looking at the person who comes to the soothsayer, not the actual soothsayer himself. Anyone who claims the knowledge of the unseen, regardless of whether they are magicians or not, or even if they're not a magician, then this person has fallen into kufr. But we're talking about the person who comes to these people. Because the Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when they used to come to a kahin or a soothsayer, they never believed that they knew the knowledge of the unseen. They never believed that this sorcerer is capable of the knowledge of the unseen, but they believed that this sorcerer was given knowledge of the unseen through the jinn who eavesdropped. That's why it's not kufr akbar. If the person believes that this sorcerer has knowledge of the unseen, independently of anything else, independently of the jinn yani listening and eavesdropping on the angels, then this person obviously has fallen into kufr akbar, wal-'iyadh billah. Then the Shaykh moves on to ad-dalil al-thalith, which is the hadith of Abu Hurairah also. من أتى عرافا أو كاهنا فصدقه بما يقول. This hadith, which is narrated by Imam Hakim, and the dilala of this hadith is similar to the dalil al-thalith, where the Prophet says فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. This person has disbelieved in that which was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then we have ad-dalil al-rabi'. Dalil number 4 is the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, basically, and Abu Ya'la, which is similar to the which is similar basically to the previous adillah. Then hadith number 5, he mentions hadith number 5 where the Prophet says لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ تَطَيَّرَ أَوْ تُطَيَّرَ. He is not from us one who believes in omens or charms, or seeks charms and or omens, or goes to soothsayers and seeks basically charms, أو تطير له, or this is sought on their behalf. So this hadith was narrated by Al-Bazzar. The isnad is da'if. However, again, there are shawahid and narrations that strengthen it. And the dilala of this hadith, to indicate to basically the issue, is by looking at it from two angles. Number one, where the Prophet ﷺ says فَقَدْ كَفَرَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. In the hadith, the Prophet says, then this person has disbelieved in that which was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So here the kufr has been mentioned. The second is where the Prophet says laysa minna, he is not from us. So the Prophet negates the fact that this person is from him, yani from this ummah. So that means the person who is the mutakahhin, the one who performs soothsaying, and the one who soothsaying is performed for, yani the questioner, laysa minna, yani this person, iman has been negated from this person. Okay? So that means the type of iman here that's negated from it is not the asl al-iman, it's not the minimum required iman, but it's al-iman al-wajib, the obligatory iman, which means that this is a major sin. Not kufr, it means that this is one of the major sins. Dalil as-sadis is man ata kahinan, and the isnad of this hadith is considered to be da'if, is considered to be weak. And the dilala of this tarjama is again laysa minna, again the same as dalil number 5, laysa minna. The Prophet says laysa minna, he's not from us. And then the author moves on to ad-dalil as-sabi', dalil number 7, where the athar of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says yaktubuna abajad. He talks about people who write the alphabet and look at and gaze at the stars. And Ibn Abbas says, I don't think that any of these people, they have any share or portion in the sight of Allah of khair. So gazing at the stars, if someone was to just gaze at the stars, that's not haram. That's not what the athar means. Not just literally gazing at the stars. There's nothing wrong with looking at the stars and contemplating the creation of Allah, their beauty, and the fact that Allah created them. No, it's gazing at the stars and using them as indicators to the unseen, and using the patterns of the stars, their movements, to the unseen or to issues of the unseen. That's basically what is madhmoom and blameworthy here. So the fact that Ibn Abbas negated any portion for them in the akhirah means that this person has fallen into يعني something that is from the major sins. So now we move on to chapter number 27. باب ما جاء في النشرة. باب ما جاء في النشرة. Quickly, just quick 5 minutes for questions regarding this. Any questions so far regarding the abwab and the chapters that we've mentioned? Now.
If you, for example, see a shooting star, does that always indicate that jinn is being?
It could indicate. Nah, it could. I don't know if it's Allahu A'lam if it's chasing a jinni or not, but it's an indicator. We say it's an indicator, but it doesn't mean every time you see a shooting star, it's chasing a jinni. No. نعم أخي.
Does hypnosis come under this sihr as well?
It hasn't really. That example hasn't. In my studies, that example hasn't been mentioned. Wallahu a'lam. But it could fall in. يعني if it's something that is hidden, and we don't know the effects, that it could fall into sihr. نعم, it could fall into sihr. It's not, generally speaking, it's not something that should be performed simply because of the fact that it's unknown. The effects are unknown. We don't know and even if it does happen, even let's say hypothetically it happens, giving control over someone, and giving making someone control your body and what you say without you even knowing what you've said, is something that no intellectual or logical person should really do. Allahu a'lam. No.
So an incident happened a few years back where a person performed a sleight of hand trick in front of him, and he didn't consider that to be magic. I mean, is it? Well, I consider it to be magic, and other people do as well.
No.
Is it? And what would you do in that situation? Obviously, they're in front of the people.
Yeah, there's two types of sihr. There's sihr al-haqiqi and sihr al-takhil. They're both magic. So the sihr of takhil is what you've mentioned, where the sleight of hand and imaginative or causing the people, doing magic on their eyes so they don't actually see what you've done. It's still considered magic. And even if that person doesn't use the jinn, what they've done is fisq. What they've done is imitated disbelievers. And what is the wisdom behind it? Why would someone do that? Why would someone go through the trouble of doing these things? They're imitating the disbelievers, they're imitating magicians. And we know the qa'id in the sharia is that we are prohibited from imitating the sinners, not just disbelievers in general. So it's considered to be a type of sihr. Naam, it's a type of sihr.
Does it fall under
Kufr?
yeah, kufr asghar or anything like that, or is it just?
It depends. It depends on the i'tiqad. The asl of the thing is that it's haram, it's impermissible. But it depends on the aqeedah and the i'tiqad. So if what they're doing, for example, like removing money from a hat, or basically asking someone to think of a number, and then they say the number that that person was thinking. Allahu a'lam if this is true or not. But if the person thinks that this person can know what they're thinking, that's min ilm al-ghayb. So it falls into kufr akbar. So again, it's the i'tiqad. Okay, so we don't know what's going through. So because there's this danger exists anyway, then that any Muslim should really not pay attention to these things, and they shouldn't entertain these type of people, because it's from fisq. It's from wal-iyad billah. It's not something that person should really do. Wallahu a'lam. Naam.
Ustad, in relation to the 7 destroyers, it says to associate anything with Allah, and then it says sorcery, magic. So given that sorcery cannot be achieved without shirk, so why is it that this order is mentioned as shirk and then sihr?
To clarify, it's to emphasize its danger, because sihr, we have shirk, and sihr is la shak, is basically a cause. Sihr isn't committed except through kufr and shirk, but shirk has so many branches that the hadith mentions it the worst type of shirk. So the hadith mentions as sihr. mentions a sihr which is part of shirk itself, but because of its danger, because of the evil, its evil, it was singled out and mentioned on its own. Allah A'lam. No.
في حديث لا تقبل له صلاة 40 يوما.
نعم.
هل عدم قبول الصلاة ينبغي عليه أن هو يعيد الصلاة مرة أخرى؟
لا، هو عدم يعني لا يجب عليه أن يعيد الصلاة مرة أخرى. الحديث يعني لما يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم تقبل له صلاة 40 يوما، يعني هنا أجزأت، يعني الصلوات التي صلاها مجزئة ولكن لا يثاب عليها. فهنا
يسقط الفرض.
كيف؟ سقط، نعم يسقط الفرض، يعني برئت بذمته فسقط الفرض لكن لا يثاب عليها، لا يعيد هذه الصلوات. نعم. إياك.
For example, you've got like somebody at work, sorry, like a family member or something, and then you're reading like the newspaper, and then you go to the horoscopes page, and you're like, let me just see what it says, and then you obviously tell me hadith that, Allah may not accept your salat for today, but you still have to pray. If they say, okay, Allah, I didn't know, or, and then October, is that still established upon the
Allahu A'lam. I don't know, akhi. Allahu A'lam. It's if they did it out of ignorance, then inshallah, يعني, we ask Allah to forgive them. If they horoscopes basically also fall into this category. Anyone who reads horoscopes and believes in them has fallen into kufr asghar. Superstitions also fall into this category. Your question just reminded me of something. Superstitions. So, يعني, the common superstitions that people now not يعني, believe in is, for example, the number 13. Some hotels don't have a room 13, or walking underneath a ladder, or for example seeing a black cat. In medieval times, the Europeans believed that black cats were demons, and they used to kill black cats. Everywhere they saw black cats, they would kill the black cat and its owner as well, because they thought that its owner was a witch or a magician or a sorcerer or a demon in the form of a human being. And then as a result of, and this is something in the history books, as a result of that, when there weren't many black cats, this caused the bubonic plague. This caused rats to increase in number. So when rats increased in number, this caused the plague, the Great Plague. And they say that this was one of the reasons why the plague increased. So that's one superstition. Believing in this superstition is min at-tiyara. Also, anyone who believes in the number 13, that it causes bad luck. Anyone who believes in walking under a ladder, for example, causes bad luck. Or for example, anyone who believes that if they step on a crack, then this will break their mother's back, for example. Yani, this is what people believe in. So this is also from at-tiyara. So they say that if you step on a crack, then that means something bad would happen to you, because the crack signifies for them, is a symbol of the underworld, and that's where evil spirits come through to the people. That's what they believe in. Anyone who believes in this is also la yajuz. This is something impermissible. Also, another example is of a horror is breaking a mirror. So a mirror, for example, they believe that if a person stares at a mirror, then they're staring at their evil soul. In some cultures it depends really on what they believe in, but generally that in the West that's what people believe in. Or if you break a mirror, for example, then that means that something evil is going to happen to you. Or seeing a night owl, or hearing a crow, a scarecrow, for example. A crow. If you're hearing a crow, is also bad luck. Or if they're, for example, and if this crow is perched on top of a church, on top of a statue, it's even worse. يعني. So all of these are from at-tiyara, and they're things that are impermissible. نعم أخي.
Just in terms, I'm just trying to understand, it's different from going to a soothsayer or watching other people going to a soothsayer or magicians and these type of things. But nowadays in this modern age, you see these things in TV programs, cartoons, you see it pretty much everywhere. It's part of the
نعم part of the culture. نعم.
What is the effect on, well, obviously the effect of a person being, following these things, but what your children are watching these things, what advice do you have?
Tawheed. That's one word, akhi. The advice is tawheed. Learning tawheed, akhi. Learn, because how does this affect our tawheed? Because when you believe that if you step on a crack, this will cause your mother's back to break, for example, or something evil to happen to you, what have you left for Allah? You are now disbelieving in the qadr of Allah, in the decree of Allah. Does stepping on a crack cause that to happen? That means there's shirk involved. Where is Allah? Ain Allah, subhanallah. When you believe in a black cat, you've seen a black cat, so that means today something evil is going to happen to you. That's bad luck. That's shirk. You believe in bad luck, and that's considered to be shirk. So again, I can't stress it enough. Tawheed. If you spent the rest of your life learning Tawheed, nothing else but Tawheed, then you will not have wasted your life, and you don't learn anything else. Tawheed is this book. After we finish, we should really repeat it again, and then repeat it a third time and a fourth time. Just continue reading it and repeating it. You can't get enough of Tawheed. There are so many things in cartoons. Our children, we have to teach them about Allah, connect them to Allah. These things that people watch in their shows, in sitcoms and films and movies, and it's everywhere surrounding us. And like, for example, touch wood. Have you not heard this term? Touch wood. Why do they say touch wood? What does touch wood mean? It means if you touch wood, you get good luck. And also salt. From the beliefs, and most of these beliefs are found have shirk in them. Their origins, if you trace it back long enough, there's clear elements of shirk. Like they believe if you spill salt, okay, then that's bad luck. And to remove this bad luck, what do you have to do, according to them? Your left shoulder. You have to. Why? Why do you have to throw it over your left shoulder? Do you know why? Because they believe that there's a devil behind your left shoulder smirking at you, laughing at you. So you have to do this to basically throw the salt in the devil's eyes to stop it from laughing at you. Wal-iyadhu billah. Imagine someone believed in this. Tawheed. That's why it's really important for us to know Tawheed, to teach the people Tawheed, not to repeat these things. And it's very important. Wallah, subhanallah. Naam. Naam.
There is some people who believe in as well. If you meet someone with just one eye, if you're going to do something.
نعم. There's الأمثلة أخي كثيرة جدا. There's so many examples. This is just a drop. There's so many examples. It could be anything. The examples are limitless. These are just the most common superstitions that I can just think of from the top of my head right now. There's more, obviously. Like, for example, the Japanese, for example, they believe the number 9 means death. The word 9 in Japanese resembles death in their language. The word death, I don't know, obviously, resembles number 9. So they don't say that number. They do something else. The Chinese the number 4 resembles death. So in their culture, the number 4 is a bad number. Okay? The number 9 in the culture of the Japanese is a bad number. It depends where you come from, your culture. Every culture has their different superstitions. Al-Muhim, our culture is Islam. And in Islam there is no superstitions. Everything is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether you step on a crack, or whether you walk under a ladder, or whether you see a black cat or anything, all of these things, إذا أحجمتك أو if they cause you to do a task or to stop doing a task, then you've fallen into shirk. But if it enters your heart because you're from that culture, and which something we'll learn later on, if it enters your heart but you dispel it, then there's nothing upon you. Okay, ليس عليك أي شيء إن شاء الله. Let's continue, Ikhwan. باب ما جاء في النشرة, chapter pertaining to what was mentioned in النشرة. So النشرة is basically the removal of sihr. With sihr, the removal of magic with magic. That's what basically nushra is. That's the technical definition of nushra. The nushra also means just generally the removal of sihr, whether it's with magic or not. The removal of sihr, it has these two meanings. Do you understand? So the two meanings of nushra are what? The removal of magic with magic, and the second meaning of nushra is just the removal of magic with anything, whether it's magic, whether it's with another magic, or whether it's with a verse or ruqya shar'iyya, it doesn't matter. It's still some people have called nushra to mean that as well. Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, was asked an nushra, su'ila an nushra. So the Prophet said, hiya min amal al-shaytan, it is from the actions of the shaitan. Rawahu Imam Ahmad bi sanadin jayyid. وقال سئل أحمد عنها, and Imam Ahmad was asked about this, فقال ابن مسعود يكره هذا كله. Ibn Mas'ud deemed this to be haram and impermissible. وفي البخاري عن قتادة قلت لابن المسيب, Qatada says, I said to Ibn al-Musayyib, رجل به طب, a man who is bewitched, أو يؤخذ عن امرأته, or he basically is unable to have sexual relations with his wife because of magic. أيحل عنه أو ينشر, أيحل عنه أو ينشر, should he be removed, يعني should his magic be removed with يعني should his magic be removed, or should we try and remove the sorcery that is affecting him? قال الإمام أحمد ابن المسيب said لا بأس به, there's nothing wrong with this. إنما يريدون به الإصلاح, all they want is rectification, all they want is to help this man, so there's nothing wrong with trying to remove his sihr. فأما ما ينفع, so that which is beneficial, فلم ينهى عنه, there's nothing prohibiting, there's nothing prohibiting it. So obviously Ibn al-Musayyib, he means the يعني حل السحر برقية شرعية, removing sihr with ماذا? With رقية شرعية. And then he mentions وروي عن الحسن أنه قال لا يحل السحر إلا ساحر. Al-Hasan used to say that usually magic isn't removed except by a magician. قال ابن القيم says النشرة, the meaning of nushra is حل السحر عن المسحور, the removal of magic from the one who is bewitched. وهي نوعان, and nushra is two types. أحدهما, the first, حل بسحر مثله, the removal of magic with magic, it's with similar magic. وهو الذي من عمل الشيطان, this is from the amal of the shaitan. وعليه يحمل قول الحسن, and this is what Al-Hasan means when he said it is impermissible. فيتقرب الناشر والمنتشر إلى الشيطان بما يحب. So the nashir, the one who is trying to remove the magic with magic, has to come close to the shaitan, just like the original sahir. فيبطل عمله عن المسحور, so he negates the action of the previous magician with his own magic, so the one who's bewitched is then free from sorcery. Do you understand? So what this so that's the first type of nushra, which is impermissible. The second type of nushra is a nushra بالرقية, nushra with ruqya, والتعوذات والدعوات والأدوية المباحة فهذا جائز. So nushra with ruqya شرعية, recitation of the Quran, seeking refuge in Allah, supplicating to Allah, and any medicine that is considered to be mubah, this is permissible. Do you understand? So why is then the first type impermissible? Because what usually happens is when a person who's bewitched and knows they're bewitched, or there's magic affecting them, they go to another magician, and that second magician has to be, the jinn of that second magician has to be stronger than the jinn of the first magician. How can this be? That means the ibadah and the worship of the second magician has to be stronger and better than the worship of the first magician. Do you understand? So then they have to do more than the first magician. So then that jinni will, and obviously they pay money to this. There's always money in there somewhere if you look hard enough. So then the bewitched, the magic is removed by the second jinni, who's more powerful than the first jinni. Do you understand? So that's why it's considered to be impermissible. So the maqasd or the maqsood of the tarjama is bayanu hukm al-nushra, clarifying the ruling of an-nushra, and we've mentioned what nushra is. So the nushra istilah and technically is the removal of magic with magic. And the Musannif mentions arba'at adilla, 4 evidences for this. The first evidence is the hadith of Jabir, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was سئل عن النشر, was asked about النشر, and he said, and the محل الشاهد in the hadith is in the statement of the Prophet here, من عمل الشيطان, it is from the actions of the shaitan. نعم. And the proof of this, يعني why is it called من عمل الشيطان? آية البقرة خير شاهد لهذا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر. So وما كفر سليمان, what Sulaiman did not disbelieve. However, the shayateen disbelieved because they taught the people magic. So we know that magic and sorcery is from the amal of the shaitan, is from the actions of the shaitan. And anything that is attributed to the shaitan, is it going to be mubah? Of course not. It's going to be something that is muharram. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَأْخُذُ وَيُعْطِي بِشِمَالِهِ. The shaitan takes and gives with his left hand. So that means giving and taking with your left hand is impermissible. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تأكلوا بالشمال فإن الشيطان يأكل بالشمال. Don't eat with your left hand, for indeed the shaitan eats with his left hand. So ascribing, the qa'idah is, anything that is ascribed to the shaitan is automatically haram and impermissible. The second dalil is the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, كان يكره هذا كله. And the karaha عند السلف ما هو؟ التحريم. The karaha عند السلف هو التحريم, يعني they deemed this to be haram, and the salaf deemed this to be something that was haram. The dalil al-thalith, the third dalil, is the athar of Ibn Mas'ud, where he mentions, where he's asked about a man who's bewitched and a man who cannot have relations with his wife because of sihr or magic. What should we do? Should we try to remove the sihr? So what he meant was, when he said لا بأس بذلك, there's nothing wrong with this, he means the nushra, that is الرقية الشرعية. And the fourth dalil is the athar of Al-Hasan, where he says لا يحل السحر إلا ساحر. And the dilala is here meaning that the person who tries to remove a magic with magic is going to basically have to commit shirk in order to do this. So this is why, basically, this is the mahallu shahid. And the next, na'am. Then the muallif rahimahullah ta'ala mentions two masail or mas'alatain. The first is an-nahyu an an-nushra, the prohibition of the act of an-nushra. This is considered to be haram. Because why? It's min amal al-shaytan, it's from the action of the shaitan. The number two is the difference between the two types of nushra. Okay, the difference between the first type of nushra, which is hallu sihri bi sihrin mithli, or removal of magic with another type of magic. This is haram. And the second type of nushra, which is mubah, which is the removal of magic with Quran, with sunnah, with ad'iyah, with ad'iyah. This is considered to be mubah, بل قد يكون مستحب. نعم. So these are the two masail or two issues that we benefit from this particular chapter. Then he moves on to chapter number 28, باب ما جاء في التطير. باب ما جاء في التطير, issues pertaining to التطير. At-tatayyur, obviously we've mentioned, are omens, okay, whether good or bad doesn't matter. Issues pertaining to charms and omens. So when we say charms, we mean, for example, if a person takes something as good luck, okay, they have good luck trousers, or their lucky trousers, or their lucky t-shirt, or their lucky hat, or they have a necklace they wear and they consider this to be lucky, or a ring that they consider to be lucky. Also, if two people get married, for example, and they wear a ring, okay, the asal is it's okay to wear a ring, as long as it's not gold for a man. But if they wear the ring and they think that their marriage their love for each other will last as long as they have the ring in their finger, okay, this is also considered to be min bab at-tatayyur. It's something that is considered to be min bab at-tatayyur. Anything, any instrument that the person, any piece of clothing, any instrument, any object, any other person or human being that the person considers to give them something of benefit through that person or through that thing, or to repel an evil through that person or thing, is considered to be at-tatayyur, is considered to be shirk. So if a person says things, for example, if they have their children with them at a particular time, then this is good luck, then obviously this is min bab at-tatayyur. So this is tasawwur al-mas'ala. Now we know what we mean by at-tatayyur. But at-tatayyur comes from at-tayr. You know what at-tayr means? At-tayr, birds. it was ascribed to birds because that's the first thing that people used to do. In olden days, it was birds that they used to use to look for charms and look for good luck or bad luck. It was the actual birds that they used to use. So that's why it's ascribed to birds at-tatayyur. But it basically, the lafz is still considered to be am. وقول الله تعالى ألا إنما طائرهم عند الله ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. So the Fir'aun and the people of Fir'aun قالوا, they said إنا تطيرنا بكم. They said, we, O Musa and your people, you have brought us bad luck. You've brought us bad luck. The rain doesn't come anymore. It's because of you. So Allah responds to them and He says, قال إنما طائرهم عند الله. Indeed, that their decree is in with Allah. So هنا الطائر هنا بمعنى القدر. أي قدركم عند الله. Your decree is with Allah. ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. However, most of them do not know. وقوله قالوا طائركم معكم. And also, Allah said, قالوا, He said, طائركم أي قدركم معكم. Your decree is with Allah. Meaning, whatever happens to you from evil or from good, this has already been decreed by Allah, and it's not as a result of what you believe in to be طائر or what you believe in to be omens. وعن أبي هريرة, Abu Hurairah says, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, لا عدوى ولا طيرة ولا هام ولا سفر. There is no adwa, there is no contagion, ولا طيرة, there is no omens, ولا هامة, there are no owls or night owls or birds that cause fear, ولا سفر, and the month of Safar does not cause omens. So the Prophet here negates all of these omens. ولهما عن Anas says قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, لا عدوى ولا طيرة. The Prophet says لا عدوى, there is no contagion, ولا طيرة, there is no طيرة, meaning لا عدوى يعني nothing. If you're next to someone who has the flu, then they can't harm you with their flu or with the disease or with the ailment that they have, except with the permission of Allah. That's what it means. If it happens, then it was with the permission of Allah. So لا عدوى ولا طيرة, there's no طيرة, يعني there are no omens. And then the Prophet says ويعجبني الفأل, and I like الفأل. قالوا, what is الفأل وما الفأل? قال, the Prophet said, الكلمة الطيبة, a good word. So al-fa'l, for example, is basically, it's not from a tira, it is an optimistic word. So a person, for example, has an exam today, in the morning has an exam, on his way to the exam, someone just said to him, Ya najih, oh, the one who is successful, just like this. So this causes the person to be optimistic, but it's not from omens. Do you understand? As long as the person doesn't use this to stop the task that they're performing, or to continue in the task, then it's considered to be optimism. But if someone says to him, Ya khasir, for example, يعني, oh, the one who is a failure, مثلا, on his way to the exam, and then because of this, he stops going, he says, he calls in sick, and he doesn't go to the exam. So he asks the university يعني, I can't come, I'm ill, I want to take the exam next month or something. Now this person has fallen into ماذا? Into الطيرة. Because that word caused him or her to stop going to the exam. Okay, that's just one example. So the Prophet here is saying, وَيُعْجِبُنِي الْفَأَلْ, يعني, I like an optimistic word, a good word, a word that causes optimism. ولأبي داود بسند صحيح عن عقبة بن عامر قال, he said, ذكرت الطيرة عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الطيرة was mentioned with the Prophet, يعني, was mentioned in the presence of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. فقال, he said, أحسنها الفأل. The best of الطيرة, the best omen is الفأل الكلمة الطيبة, يعني a good optimistic word. That doesn't mean that الفأل or الكلمة الطيبة is an omen. The Prophet basically is saying that الطيرة is evil, but what is better than الطيرة is the optimistic word. ولا ترد مسلما, and it doesn't, يعني, it shouldn't stop a Muslim. فإذا رأى أحدكم ما يكره, so when one of you sees that which he dislikes, فليقل. So this is the cure now so if someone sees a black cat, they used to believe in this, so they made tawbah, they see a black cat, or they walk underneath a ladder, or for example they open their umbrella indoors, مثلا, that's also another superstition. You shouldn't open your umbrella indoors, because the asl of this superstition is that if you do this, then you are angering the sun god. Okay, you're angering the sun god. You should open it outside. So if someone, for example, sees someone doing this, or this happens to him, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, فَلْيَقُلْ, let him say, اللهم لا يأتي بالحسنات إلا أنت. Oh Allah, you are the only one who brings good. ولا يدفع السيئات إلا أنت. And you are the only one who repels evil. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. And there is no hawl, there is no power, there is no might except with the permission of Allah. إلا بك. وعن ابن مسعود مرفوعا, Ibn Mas'ud, he says مرفوعا, الطيرة شرك الطيرة شرك الطيرة شرك. So he says طيرة is shirk, omens are shirk 3 times. And then Ibn Mas'ud says وما منا إلا. There is none of us except that they are affected by it some way or another. That means he doesn't mean that we believe in this at-tira, but there is none of us except that it affects our hearts, meaning that you may see something that the people deem as superstitious. It may affect you, but as long as you do not stop doing what you're doing, then there's no harm. He says وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ, however, Allah يُذْهِبُهُ بِالتَّوَكُّلِ. Allah removes this from our hearts by tawakkul, by placing our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This hadith was narrated by Abu Dawud and At-Tirmidhi. And then he mentions وَلِأَحْمَدَ مِنْ حَدِيثِ ibn Amr, and Imam Ahmad mentions from the hadith of Ibn Amr, مَنْ رَدَّتْهُ الطِّيَرَةُ عَنْ حَاجَتِهِ فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ. Whoever is stopped from doing something, or from their daily errands because of an omen, then this person has committed shirk. قالوا, they said, فما كفارة ذلك. What is the expiation of this, O Messenger of Allah? قال, he said, and يقول, for the person to say, اللهم لا خير إلا خيرك. Allahumma, there's no khair, there's no good except your goodness. ولا طير إلا طيرك. And there is no such thing as omens except your qadr, except your decree. ولا إله غيرك. And there is no ilah except you. There is none worthy of being worshipped except you. شوف إثبات التوحيد. So the cure for shirk is ماذا? Is tawheed, because this is min amrad al-qulub. This is from the diseases of the heart. If a person thinks just by looking at a black cat that something bad is happening to them, then there's psychologically something wrong with them. Alaysa kadhalik? Where is it in the qadr and the shar' that seeing a black cat will cause evil? Has it been proven scientifically? Think about it logically. Has it been proven scientifically that if you basically walk underneath a ladder, something bad is going to happen to you? No, it hasn't. Also, another example I've just remembered is Murphy's Law. Do you know what that means? Does anyone know what Murphy's Law is? Has anyone heard of this? Naam. Naam. So Murphy's Law is basically, if anything can go wrong, then it probably will go wrong. So they use it as an example for someone who, for example, has an experiment that they want to show the people. So they've tested the experiment 100 times, and every time when they were alone it works. Now it's time to show everyone what they've accomplished. So Murphy's Law, according to them, dictates that if anything can go wrong, it probably will go wrong. Something is going to happen, whether it's because of your anxiety at the moment or whatever, it's going to go wrong. وين الدليل لهذا? Where is the proof for this? Who's Murphy anyway? No one knows. Really. If you research the topic, no one can actually mention, even the proponents of this, they don't know who Murphy is, subhanAllah. Why Murphy's Law? Why not Dennis's Law? So basically, this all indicates to at-tira. These are all charms. There's hundreds of examples, subhanAllah. If someone, subhanAllah, could compile a book where all of these superstitions are mentioned, and then mention the ayat of Tawheed and refute this, then wallahi that would be amal khair, inshaAllah. So the maqsood of this tarjama, the qasd of this tarjama, is to clarify hukm al-tatayyur, the ruling of omens. The ruling of omens. And as we've mentioned, at-tira is basically that which the person has wants to do, or an omen is something that causes the person to move forward or to refrain. Something that causes the person to do a task or to stop doing a task. And it doesn't mean pessimism, by the way. This is very important. It has nothing to do with optimism and pessimism. To be pessimistic about an affair. If someone asks you, what do you think? Well, I am optimistic. That's not from at-tiyara. Basically, that's the two are not basically connected. Naam. And the ruling of at-tiyara is that it is considered to be shirk asghar. Okay, it's considered to be minor shirk. It's considered to be minor shirk. Why is it considered to be minor shirk? Because it indicates to the fact that the heart finds contentment and peace with something that is not a means legislatively and universally. You understand? There's nothing in the Quran and the Sunnah, and there's nothing in the Sunnah of this universe, or there's no scientific proof rather to indicate that this thing causes something else. Do you understand? So there's nothing to say that seeing a black cat causes something else, causes bad luck to happen to you, causes you to have a bad day at work, for example. The two are not connected. So if a person believes they are connected, then the person has fallen into a shirk al-asghar. And we've mentioned the ta'rif of a shirk al-asghar. كل سبب لم يثبت قدرا ولا شرعا فإن اتخاذه من الشرك الأصغر. طيب, any sabab, any means, anything that is a means, that anything that is considered to be a means that has not been affirmed universally or legislatively, then taking it as a means or as a sabab for something else is considered to be minor shirk. Is that clear? It's considered to be minor shirk. So when does it become major shirk? It becomes major shirk when the person believes that this omen, whether good or bad, is independent of Allah, and this omen can influence events in the universe itself, and it's no longer a means. Then it becomes shirk akbar. طيب, that's how. And subhanallah, with omens it is very easy for a person to believe this. Very easy. Stepping on a crack, for example, if a person believes that stepping on this crack, the fact that you've stepped on the crack demons will appear and cause harm to your mother by breaking her back, miskina, or something evil is going to happen to you. This is shirk akbar. They believe that this thing is independent of anything else. That's why it's very difficult to distinguish in omens between what is shirk asghar and what is shirk akbar. The line is very grey. It's a very grey area. That's why a person should abstain from falling into this. But however, the asal of at-tiyara, the actual action of at-tiyara, the actual omen itself, when a person sees an omen and they refrain from going near something because of this omen, this is considered to be a shirk al-asghar. As for even if they don't believe anything, even if by chance hakada they see a black cat, they're on their way to the shop, for example, they see a black cat, they open the door, they see a black cat, mathalan. And because of that they think, well, subhanAllah, I'm not going to go. Khalas, they close the door and they go back home. They go inside. So now they haven't done anything. They've stopped doing something because of a black cat. Now this is shirk asghar. Okay? Say for example, they they see a black cat and they believe with certainty, khalas, something evil is going to happen to them. This black cat is going to cause evil to happen to them. Then now they've fallen into a shirk al-akbar wal-'iyadhu billah. So the Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala mentions 8 evidences to support this issue. Dalil number one is the verse ألا إنما طائرهم عند الله, and the محل shahid is طائرهم عند الله. That which was decreed for them is in the hands of Allah, not in the hands of what they believe in. Basically, this is the محل shahid. The second dalil is قالوا طائركم معكم, أي قدركم الملازم لكم. يعني your decree that is something that is يعني your decree is يعني قالوا طائركم معكم يعني it means قدركم الملازم لكم. يعني your قدر that is basically something that is attached to you, معكم is with you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says وَكُلُّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ وَكُلُّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. Every person, their qadr and their decree is with them. يعني everything that we've decreed with them is attached to them. Okay, so that's what the verse means. So here this verse negates omens. It negates omens. It means the verse means that everything that was decreed with you will happen to you. This omen cannot change the qadr that is attached to you, that is with you. This is basically what the verse means. So the verse here, they don't mean omens. Here قالوا طائركم here, it doesn't mean omens or charms, it means the actual qadr of Allah. Then the third dalil is لا طيرة. Here the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ لا عدوى ولا طيرة, the hadith where he negates the effects of omens, or he makes it prohibited to believe in these things. Dalil number 4, again the hadith of Anas where the Prophet ﷺ says لا عدوى ولا طيرة, similar to the hadith number 3. Dalil number 5 is where the Prophet ﷺ says, is the hadith that is mursal. He says وَلَا تَرُدُّ مُسْلِمًا. This is the محل الشاهد. It shouldn't stop a Muslim from carrying out his or her يعني everyday tasks. And in the Prophet, when the Prophet ﷺ, he says in the hadith أحسنها الفأل, it doesn't mean that fa'al or optimism is part of tiyarah, because يعني the lafz of the hadith indicates to the fact that someone may think that fa'al or optimism is a part of tiyarah, because the Prophet said the best of it. He said the best of it. It doesn't mean that's not what the hadith means. The hadith means that al-fa'al is not from at-tiyarah. Optimism is not considered to be from omens. طيب? But it's something totally different. Dalil number 6 is the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud where he says at-tiyarah to shirk. Tiyarah is considered to be shirk and the isnad is sahih. And the محل الشاهد is وما منا إلا ولكن الله يذهبه بالتوكل. Here the محل الشاهد is at-tiyarah to shirk. He repeats it 3 times. Because of, why is it shirk? Because of the fact that it contains the person who commits it or does this, their heart is affected and is connected to other than Allah. Dalil number 7 is hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr where he says من ردته الطيرة عن حاجته فقد أشرك. Whoever is stopped from their everyday errands because of a tiyarah or mens, then has committed shirk. The محل الشاهد is فقد أشرك. Dalil number 8, إنما الطيرة ما أمضاك أو ردك. The محل الشاهد here is where the Prophet says الطيرة or omens are things that cause you to move forward, to do a task or to stop doing a task. So this mas'ala or this bab contains certain issues, masail. Number 1, التنبيه على قوله ألا إنما طائرهم عند الله, an indication of the tafsir of the verse ألا إنما طائرهم عند الله. And the يعني إثبات, and this basically verse is a dalil for إثبات القدر, the affirmation of the decree or the divine preordained decree of Allah. Because طائركم here means قدركم, your qadr, your decree, the decree that Allah has decreed for you. Number 8, he says أن الواقع في القلب من ذلك مع كراهته لا يضر. So anything بل يذهبه الله بالتوكل. Number 8 is that if anyone has any waswas or whisperings of the shaitan regarding superstitions, and it's only in their heart but it doesn't cause the person to be affected by it in the sense that they don't stop doing their task, then this is okay. This does not cause any sin, and this is basically removed with tawakkul, with placing your trust in Allah. Number 11, the tafsir of at-tiyarah al-madhmuma, the tafsir of at-tiyarah, the explanation of at-tiyarah and what it means. Naam. So here there's a question between the difference between shirk akbar and shirk asghar. Major shirk is basically causes the person to be removed from the fold of Islam. Okay, the ta'rif of major shirk is is to give something from the rights of Allah to other than Allah, which causes the person to be removed from the fold of Islam. Minor shirk is to give something from the rights of Allah to other than Allah, which doesn't cause the person to be removed from the fold of Islam. So the main difference between the two is that major shirk causes the person to be removed from Islam, whereas minor shirk doesn't. Both of them, Allah doesn't forgive them. If the person dies without repenting, Allah does not forgive a minor shirk. And if a person dies upon minor shirk, they will be they are under they will be punished by Allah on the day of resurrection. However, this punishment could be removed because of rewards that they may have. They won't be forgiven, but it will be weighed against them in the scale. So it will be weighed against them in the scale. If their good deeds outweigh their bad deeds, including this minor shirk, then they go to paradise. If not, then they go to al-iyadhu billah nar. As for major shirk, then the person who dies upon major shirk, it doesn't matter what good deeds they have, those good deeds are negated by the major shirk itself, so they go into the fire. That's basically the gist of the mas'ala. If they say bring so and so, bring the barakah, but an old person or a woman, what do you say this? It's just regarding, this question is just regarding a person saying why don't we bring so and so because they have barakah, because it's an old person. There's a tafsil in the mas'ala. If you say that this person has barakah because of something external, the knowledge that they may have, for example, any other external factor because of some knowledge that they may give you, and you attribute the barakah to that thing that they have, then there's nothing wrong with saying this. Bring so and so because of their barakah. But if you think that the barakah and the blessing is in their person, in their actual body, in their person, then this is obviously something that is impermissible. 29 باب ما جاء في التنجيم. قال البخاري رحمه الله تعالى في صحيحه, chapter pertaining to astrology. Chapter pertaining to astrology. نعم. Chapter pertaining to astrology. He says قال البخاري في صحيحه قال قتادة he says خلق الله هذه النجوم لثلاث. Allah created, Qatada ibn Da'am as-Sadusi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says Allah created these stars for three purposes. Zinatan lis-sama, as a beautification for the heavens, wa rujuman lish-shayateen, as missiles that target the shayateen, wa alamatin yuhtada biha, and as signs or indicators to indicate to signs that guide travelers. Then he says فَمَنْ تَأَوَّلَ فِيهَا غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ أَخْطَأ. Whoever interprets this other than this has made a mistake. وَأَضَاعَ نَصِيبَهُ, and has basically has caused has their reward to be fruitless. وَتَكَلَّفَ مَا لَا عِلْمَ لَهُ بِهِ, and this person has basically spoken without knowledge. وكره قتادة, and قتادة تعلم منازل. قتادة used to regard the knowledge of astrology as something haram or impermissible. ولم يرخص ابن عيينة فيه. Ibn Uyayna also the same thing, did not allow this type of science. ذكره حرب عنهما. ورخص في تعلم المنازل. Also Imam Ahmad, he allowed the learning for a person to learn the knowledge of the phases of the moon. And also Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. And Abu Musa, عن أبي موسى قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Musa says that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said ثلاثة لا يدخلون الجنة. 3 types of people will never enter paradise. مدمن الخمر, the one who's addicted to alcohol. وقاطع الرحم, the one who severs the ties of kinship. ومصدق بالسحر, and the one who believes in magic. رواه الإمام أحمد بن حبان في صحيحه. The qasd or the objective of this tarjama is to clarify the ruling pertaining to astrology. And when the meaning of astrology is the gazing of the stars in order to use them as an indicator to basically as an indicator to something else, as an indicator to something. This something now will explain. So the two types of things that people use stars for are called the two sciences are called ilm al-ta'thir and ilm al-tasir. Al-ta'thir, ilm al-ta'thir is the belief that they can influence events in the universe. So the pattern of the stars and the alignment of the stars, if they're aligned, their pattern, their movements, their appearance, their disappearance, the light that they emanate, for example, the time of night that they appear, all of this, if a person believes that anything attached to the star causes something to happen in the universe, causes the birth of a person, the death of a person, then this is called ilm al-ta'thir, and this is shirk, and this is what the bab is talking about. This is basically something that is considered to be a shirk al-akbar. The other type is called ilm al-tasir. Ilm al-tasir is basically using the stars to indicate, gazing at the stars and using their movements to basically using their movements as an indicator to the seasons, So in a nutshell, basically, the study of stars is basically divided into two. So you have number one, the study of the influence of the stars. This is astrology. So the study of the influence of the stars is basically astrology. And the second is the study of the positions and the movements of the stars. This is called astronomy. And the first, the study of the influence of the stars, astrology, is divided into three categories. Okay? Number one, that the believing that these stars have influence, and that they create events and that they create evil or good. This is considered to be major shirk. Why? Because this is shirk in rububiyyah. Whoever, if you believe that there is another creator other than Allah, then this person has fallen into a shirk al-akbar. That's the first category of astrology. The second category of astrology is basically studying the stars to and using them and then claiming to have knowledge of the unseen. So basically, this person studies the movements of the stars and the changes that in the stars to basically deduce that this will happen because this star did this, or these two stars align, this is going to happen. So they say, for example, a person will become miserable or unhappy because this person was born under this star, and another person will become happy because they were born under that star. So they take the knowledge that they've studied from the stars as a means to basically yadda'i ilm al-ghayb, as a means to claim the knowledge of the unseen. And obviously this is kufr. Claiming the knowledge of the unseen is kufr. قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِيش إِلَّا اللَّهِ. The third type of astrology is if the person believes that the stars basically are a cause of good or bad to happen. That they are basically a means for good or bad to happen. This is considered to be shirk asghar, minor shirk. So basically, if they believe that when something happens in the stars, or vice versa, if they believe that if something evil occurs on the earth, it's as a result of those two stars aligning. Do you understand? So it's the opposite. So they believe, for example, there was an earthquake, and this earthquake is as a result of the alignment of two stars. So and there's no proof, لا شرعا ولا قدرا, for this. There's no evidence, neither legislatively nor scientifically or universally for this. They have no proof for this. This is considered to be shirk asghar. So as we've mentioned, the principle is, with regards to shirk asghar, is whoever believes basically that one thing causes another, when in reality Allah hasn't made this person is basically acknowledging has fallen into a shirk al-asghar. An example of this is, for example, if a person seeks healing from a piece of string that they have tied around their hand. This is an example. They think that this string is a cause for them to be healed. There's nothing legislatively to indicate to this. There's nothing scientifically to indicate to this. So that means they've fallen into what type of shirk? Shirk asghar. When does it become shirk akbar? If they think the actual string is independent, is no longer a means, will cause them to be healed, it becomes shirk akbar. As for astronomy is basically the study of the movements of the stars, the study of the actual mawaqi' an-nujum, the positions and the movements of the stars. This is two categories. Number one is if basically we use their movements and their positions to serve a religious purpose, like finding out where the qibla is, when the salat time is, what is wajib, and then this becomes wajib. This type of knowledge becomes obligatory. It's called astronomy. So trying to determine the direction of the qibla. Or number two, if basically their movements are used to basically define things that serve a worldly purpose, then there's nothing wrong with it. If someone bitajriba, through experience, knows that if these two stars align, then the ocean levels will rise in that particular part of the world, for example, that they live in, and because of that they can't go fishing there because it's too dangerous, because this is basically what they've become accustomed to. They've noticed the alaqa, the relationship between the two. This is just a worldly thing. Okay, so there's something proven there universally. So there's nothing wrong with this, if that's the case, obviously. Also using the stars to work out directions, such as the North Pole, the South Pole, the polar star. Using, for example, the North Star or the Pole Star to work out different directions, then there's nothing wrong with it. And that's why Allah says, وَعَلَامَاتٍ وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. وَعَلَامَاتٍ, and landmarks or signs, and with the star are they guided. Travelers use stars, especially in the olden days. They used to use stars to indicate, to know where they are in the sea, and then to know, to find out where home is, وهكذا. طيب. Also using the stars to work out seasons as well, by learning the phases of the moon. Some of the Salaf regarded this as makruh, while others permitted it. To study the stars to work out seasons. So this is mentioned in Al-Qawl Al-Mufid by Shaykh Muhammad Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala, volume 2, page 102. This particular fa'idah that I've just basically read out or mentioned. So the Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala mentions 4 adilla evidences to support this theory. The first evidence is the athar of Qatada, where he says, خَلَقَ اللَّهُ هَذِهِ النُّجُومَ لِثَلَاثٍ. Allah created these stars for 3 purposes. And the dilala is where he mentions at the end, where he says that Allah created these stars for these 3 purposes. Anyone who exceeds this has made a grave error and is sinful and has spoken without knowledge. So he means, what type of knowledge? Does he mean astrology or astronomy? He means astronomy. The second dalil is the athar of Qatada, where he kariha ta'allum manazil, he hated learning the phases of the moon. And obviously this means that he regarded it as haram. So obviously this was his opinion. Some of the Salaf were really strict with regards to this issue for fear of it leading to something. Some of them would stop the learning of astronomy because it would lead to astrology, the learning of astrology. They were fearful of that person falling into shirk through astrology, because the fitna is there. The fitna is always there. And the third dalil is the author of Sufyan ibn Uyayna, where Sufyan ibn Uyayna basically said that it is allowed. يعني علم التسيير, meaning astronomy is allowed. He allowed this to happen. Dalil number 4 is basically hadith of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. The isnad is da'if, and the dilala is وَمُصَدِّقٌ بِالسِّحْرِ, the one who believes in magic. This is the dilala. Because astrology, the nature of astrology is that it's witchcraft and sorcery. It's always, there's a connection between astrology and sihr. Because also the Prophet says, مَنْ اقْتَبَسَ عِلْمًا مِنَ النُّجُومِ فَقَدْ اقْتَبَسَ شُعْبَةً مِنَ السِّحْرِ. Whoever learns a branch of the science of astrology, or a branch of astrology, has learnt a branch of sihr. زَادَ مَا زَادَ. That's basically the محل الشاهد. The Shaykh mentions some issues, will just suffice with one. الثالثة, number 3, ذكر الخلاف في تعلم المنازل. ذكر الخلاف, mentioning the khilaf and the difference of opinion في تعلم المنازل when it comes to learning when it comes to astronomy. With astrology, there's no difference of khilaf. We know all of it is haram and impermissible to learn astrology. Astronomy, there's a difference of opinion between the Salaf. Some deemed it as something that shouldn't be learned because it could lead to astrology, whereas others said that you're allowed to learn it, especially if it means that it serves a religious purpose. So there's a difference of opinion there. So all of these chapters now that we've covered are pertaining to at-tanjim, as-sihr, at-tiyara, al-iyafa. Any questions so far before we move on to chapter 30? Naam.
You know the previous chapter when we were covering omens?
Mm-hmm.
You said if you change your mind on a specific thing because of something that you've seen, would this also fall under, for example, if, say, I want to start a business, I've got my money kept somewhere, I had this idea, I've sought advice, they basically said it's probably not a good idea to do it, but on my way there, my car breaks down, I get there, I lost all my money, and I take these as signs from Allah that maybe this isn't a good thing for me.
No, yes, it includes this as well.
Stuff like
It's omens, yeah. Because if your car broke down while you were on your way to undertake a task, and you connected a sabab and you thought that the reason this happened was because of some other event, then it is the onus of proof is upon you. You have to justify the connection legislatively or universally. If you think about it and you sit in your car and say, is there a connection between the two legislatively, shar'an? Obviously there isn't. Universally, is there a connection? The answer is no. Sah? Then you know you've fallen into shirk through omens. Okay? But if you took their advice and you based your judgment upon their advice and you were on your way back anyway, okay? You were going back, khalas. You've made up your mind based on the advice that was given to you not to undertake this task based on that advice. And then while you were on your way back, your car method and something evil happened to you. Okay? And then you thought maybe I should have done it. And then you fix your car and you go back. Again, you've fallen into bad omens. You've fallen into omens and shirk. Because now you're on your way back. Do you understand? You've changed your mind. So the illah is if you change your mind as a result of an omen, then you've fallen into shirk.
So how would you then reconcile this with, for example, brothers who pray istikhara on a specific issue? They waited for Allah to open it up for you, or sort of
Simple. Al-istikhara is mashru', is a ibadah. At-tiyara is shirk. That's the difference. Istikhara is a recommended act. So when you pray istikhara, we're not asked to do certain things.
not the salah itself, I meant how.
No, afterwards. Yes, that's what I'm saying as well. When we pray istikhara, that's the only thing that is commanded of us to do, nothing else. We're not told to sit in a room and wait for a sign to appear, or to go to sleep and see if we dream, and if we don't dream, we pray istikhara again until we dream. We're not asked for this. Do you understand? We're told to pray salatul istikhara, and then the Prophet says, "Man istashara al-khalq wa salla al-istikhara," then this person will never regret it. So فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ إيش فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So do it after you've prayed istikhara. You should then do whatever you want to do. Okay? But if anything happens that basically causes you, for example, if you hear a good word, okay, or anything, then this is min bab al-fa'l, as the Prophet says. This is min bab an optimism. But if you was to be if something occurred, anything occurred, and you stopped doing whatever you were doing based on that thing, then where is the istikhara? The istikhara is no more now. It's gone. Why is it gone? Because you've attached your heart to that particular event, not to Allah. Even if you think you've attached your heart to Allah and you think Allah sent this event to you, then you need to establish the evidence. The onus of proof is upon you. Where is the evidence that this event is connected to your particular situation, legislatively or universally? There is none. So you attaching your heart to this event, you've made it into a sabab that Allah has not made a sabab into a sabab. There's no sabab here. So because of this, you've fallen into shirk asghar. Do you understand, akhi? Yeah.
Similar to this, the issue of a dream. Like, for example, a man who wants to marry a woman, and he sees the woman in the dream in a bad form,
Mhm.
and he takes this as a sign from Allah. How is this considered?
Akhi, again, if a person, first and foremost, we don't take rulings from dreams. How do you know that it wasn't shaitan making himself appear in that form and making you think it's the woman? Because the shaitan plays tricks. How do we know this? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Yani whoever sees me in a dream, he has seen me. فإن الشيطان لا يتمثل بي." For indeed the shaitan cannot make himself look like me. So what do we understand? We understand that the shaitan can make himself look like anyone else in a dream. So how do we know that that's not the shaitan trying to resemble this woman, and this woman could be khair for you? She could be someone righteous and pious, and the shaitan doesn't want to create a happy family, a righteous family. You're a righteous brother, she's a righteous sister. You will have what? Righteous children, of course. What will the shaitan benefit from this institution? Nothing. So it's in his purpose and it's in his interest to divert this away from you. So the qa'idah in the sharia is, we don't take our rulings from dreams. We don't. Okay? In fact, you should do the opposite and marry this sister, because it's most probably from the shaitan. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hate the institution of marriage when we know that Allah calls to marriage? Ya ma'shar al-shabab tazawwaju. Oh people, oh the young men, go and marry. The Prophet ﷺ calls to marriage. Why would Allah not want you to marry? That's why we have husnul dhan billah. This is where husnul dhan comes in. We should have good thoughts and suspicions of Allah, and this is part of it. There is nothing legislatively. In fact, the dream that brother had is the opposite. It's from the shaitan, not from Allah, because Allah loves the institution of marriage, and the shaitan hates the institution of marriage. What does Allah say about the shaitan? إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. The shaitan calls to fahsha, all evil. Allah calls to all good. So dreams are not taken as a proof and evidence. Generally speaking, dreams, you disregard them. Nightmares, you disregard them. They mean absolutely nothing. If you connect your heart to these trivial matters, the shaitan will continue to play tricks on you and will cause you to have a mental breakdown, psychological problems. But you should remain firm and strong, and you shouldn't لا تلتفت إلى هذا. It means absolutely nothing whatsoever. But some dreams, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, regarding some dreams, good dreams, for example, that are seen, هي بشرى عاجل المؤمن. The Prophet says that they are bushra, they're glad tidings that Allah, the dreams, like you see something, where they call it deja vu, Allahu a'lam, but it's not really deja vu. That's just an example I'm giving, where you see something in a dream, and then you see aspects of that dream coming true in your day-to-day life after a long time. You remember it, but you can't really figure out where you saw this. If you remember it was a dream, then the Prophet ﷺ he said, this is the bushra. He said that this is one portion from the, I think, 40 portions of prophethood, and this is bushra, glad tidings that Allah gives to the believer, that to affirm for him that he is from the righteous people and he's from upon the haqq. It's like karama that Allah gives, karamat lil awliya mathalan. So here, that we're not talking about that dream. That's a good dream, okay? But we're talking about dreams that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Allahu a'lam. Naam.
So in relation relation to the nushra which is used, where magic is used, and of course having to perform shirk in order to remove the black magic, then what is the ruling of this? And
Black magic, akhi, is not a legislative term. It's not something in the Sharia where magic is considered black and white or whatever, because that indicates that there is another type of magic which is good. And that's what people are taught in these books. Like even in the Harry Potter series, for example, you have good magic, then you have the evil master, who's also a magician. But then you have other magicians that are the good guys. In Islam, all of them are bad guys. So we don't have that term black magic is not a reference, it's not mentioned in the Sharia. It's all magic, sihr, and it's all evil. Na'am akhi, what was your question?
so in relation to certain ulama from the Hanabila who permitted this type of nushra, and also I don't see explicitly the Shaykh mentioning
Who?
shirk, yani
Who?
over here the Shaykh.
Naam, naam.
And I don't see shirk being attributed explicitly to it. So is there something in relation to this?
Which type of nushra? The second type?
The one in relation to it being sorcery, magic.
نعم the نشرة يعني فك السحر بالسحر. That's what you mean. What about it?
So
Why is it not sihr? Is that what you're saying?
and why did certain ulama permit it from the Hanabila? I believe it's
I have no idea أخي why. Allahu A'lam. As far as I know, it's haram. يعني because we've mentioned the adillah. As for the Hanabila themselves, and who, if a scholar said something, then you'll always find a statement somewhere. But some statements you can't justify for them. Allahu A'lam. I have literally I can't answer that question. But generally speaking, as a fa'idah, akhi, and this is a fa'idah that I استفدتها يعني from Shaykh Salih Al-Usaymi حفظه ta'ala, is when you're sitting in a lesson, you should not have a sharh with you. The sharh will confuse you even more. If you should just be sitting the lesson with your notebook and the matan only. Don't read another sharh, especially in the lesson. Just take the sharh that is given to you as it is. Afterwards, inshallah, understand this sharh. Then, once you've understood this particular explanation, then you can move on to another sharh. Do you understand? So, but in a lesson, don't read any other explanation, because your heart mushattat. You're trying to compare what you have here to what you're hearing. So your knowledge won't be firmly grounded. لن يرسخ علمك. It won't be firmly grounded. You can't focus on two different explanations, two different approaches to explaining a book. This is a very simplified approach. We haven't even touched the surface of the book, subhanAllah. This is very simple. Just alfad. All we're doing is explaining words and what they mean. But we haven't really delved into the actual topics, and there's hundreds of other issues that we haven't mentioned. That's not the way we learn mutun. When we learn matan, we just learn the alfad of the matan, the words of the matan. We don't la nata'ammaq, we don't delve deeply into the matan. We just learn the qasd, the maqsood of the mu'allif, what his intention is when he brought this verse, this hadith, wa hakada. Okay, akhi?
So in
Naam.
relation to this nushra, which is magic, so we can say this is shirk akbar, and that magician who uses this is outside of Islam.
Naam, of course. And the one who went to him as well. If they believe that this magician has the knowledge of the unseen, also is a mushrik, is a kafir. Naam. La shak. Naam. طيب. Naam.
And if you know the person who's got magic done on them,
Naam.
is the pen his sin still count?
If they are aware of what they're doing, yes. If they're not aware of what they're doing, no. طيب. باب ما جاء في الاستسقاء بالأنواع, chapter number 30. باب ما جاء في الاستسقاء بالأنواع, issues pertaining to seeking rain through the stars. Seeking rain through the stars. وقول الله تعالى, and the statement of Allah, وتجعلون رزقكم أنكم تكذبون. وتجعلون رزقكم, and they have attributed their rizq يعني to these stars, أنكم تكذبون, and indeed they are يعني they have disbelieved. وعن أبي مالك الأشعري أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أربع في أمتي من أمر الجاهلية. 4 types of people from my ummah are from the issues of jahiliyyah, the days of ignorance. لا يتركونهن, they will never leave it. الفخر بالأحساب, being prideful in lineage. والطعن في الأنساب, defaming the lineage of others. والاستسقاء بالنجوم, seeking rain through the stars. والنياحة, and the wailing of women. يعني when a person dies. This is from الأمور الجاهلية. Number 3 ولهما عن زيد بن خالد قال زيد بن خالد he says صلى لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاة الصبح بالحديبية. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم he led us in the Fajr prayer in Hudaybiyah على إثر سماء كانت من الليل, after a night, after a rainful night, after a night in which rain basically descended. فلما انصرف, when the Prophet finished the prayer, أقبل على الناس, he turned to the people, فقال, he said, هل تدرون ماذا قال ربكم? Do you know what Allah said, what your Lord said? قالوا, they said, الله ورسوله أعلم, Allah and His Messenger know best. قال, he said, يعني the Prophet ﷺ said, أصبح, that Allah said, أصبح من عبادي مؤمن بي وكافر. أصبح من عبادي, my servants, some of my servants يعني have risen, some of them being mu'min, some of them being believers, while others were يعني disbelievers. So my servants, أصبح من عبادي, أصبح has risen from my servant is a mu'min, is a believer, and is a kafir. فأما من قال, so whoever said, مطرنا بفضل الله ورحمته, and this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, when rain descends, you say مطرنا بفضل الله ورحمته. Whoever says that this rain came to us with the virtue, with the rahmah of Allah, with the mercy of Allah, فَذَلِكَ مُؤْمِنٌ بِي, this person is mu'minun bi, is a believer in me, kafirun bil kawkab, and a disbeliever in the star. وَأَمَّا مَنْ قَالَ, and whoever says مُطِرْنَا بِنَوْءِ كَذَا وَكَذَا, it rained because of the star so and so, فَذَلِكَ كَافِرٌ بِي, then this person has disbelieved in me, مؤمن بالكوكب, and has believed in the star. ولهما من حديث ابن عباس معناه وفيه قال بعضهم لقد صدق نوء كذا وكذا. And also in the hadith in Abbas, some of them would say لقد صدق نوء كذا وكذا. Indeed, that particular star was truthful. يعني that particular star was right. Or this happened as a result of that particular star. فأنزل الله هذه الآيات, and because of this Allah revealed the last verses of Surah Al-Waqi'ah. فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم, I take an oath by the phases of the stars, and then إلى آخره, until the last of the verses. So the maqsood of this tarjama is to clarify the ruling on the ruling on a person who seeks rain through the stars. And what this means is, seeking rain through the stars means basically to attribute the rain as a result of a particular star falling in a particular position in the heavens or in the sky, as a result of a star moving to a particular direction or being in a particular position in the actual sky. That is basically what this basically means. Basically, and the meaning of an-naw is when a star basically falls, or the falling of a particular star. That when a star falls, the movement of the star when it falls, this is considered to be an-naw, and the jam' is al-anwa. So the musannif, he mentions arba'at adillah. The first dalil is the verse وَتَجْعَلُونَ رِزْقَكُمْ أَنَّكُمْ تُكَذِّبُونَ, and the محل الشاهد is in his statement أَنَّكُمْ تُكَذِّبُونَ. أنكم تكذبون. So basically the rizq that Allah here affirms is rain. وتجعلون رزقكم أي مطركم. So you have affirmed and attributed the rain that I have sent to you to this star. أنكم تكذبون, and you have lied, meaning you have disbelieved in me. So their takdhib and their disbelief is in the fact that they have attributed the rain and the rizq that Allah has sent to them to the falling of a particular star, or to the movement of a particular star. Why is this considered to be shirk or disbelief? Because they have deemed this particular star to be a sabab, or a reason for the falling of the rain, when legislatively and universally it is not considered to be a sabab. So there's nothing in the Sharia that indicates to this. There's nothing universally and scientifically that also indicates to this. This is why it's considered to be shirk asghar. And the second dalil is the hadith of Abu Malik al-Ash'ari, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Arba'un fi ummati min amri al-jahiliyyah." 4 types of people from my ummah are from the days of ignorance, or act in accordance with the days of ignorance. And he mentions the wajh dilala is al-istisqa'u bin nujum, yani those who seek rain through the stars, those who attribute and ascribe the rain that Allah sends to the stars. Also an example, this is considered to be min umur al-jahiliyyah. It means that it's something haram and impermissible because it's been ascribed to al-jahiliyyah, the days of ignorance. An example of this is if a person believes that it rained, Mother Nature today was kind to us, for example. This is also min hadha al-bab, yadkhul min hadha, these are alfaz shirkiyah. Mother Nature was kind to us, it rained today because of Mother Nature, for example. This is also considered to be shirk and impermissible. It rained because of the mercy of Allah. Ad-dalil al-thalith, dalil number 3, is the hadith of Zayd ibn Khalid, and the mahallu shahid here is how Allah mentions the believer and the disbeliever. He says that the believer is the one who attributes and ascribes rain to himself, to Allah, and the disbeliever is the one who ascribes rain to the star. So this is the mahallu shahid. And so basically, the reason why we have said it is shirk asghar is because in the hadith itself, in the hadith of Zayd ibn Khalid, he says mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada, and the ba huna hiya sababiyya. It rained because of that star, as a result of that star. So the person, if the person believes that the star is a reason for the rain, but the rain was given to us, it rained because of Allah, and He's the one who sent down the rain, but the star was the reason, He sent down the rain because of that particular star, then this person has fallen into shirk asghar. But if the person believes that the star itself caused the rain, and it is independent of Allah, it influences events in the universe, and one of these events is the sending down of rain, then this person has fallen into mada, kufr akbar or shirk akbar. Do you understand? So that's basically the difference. But the actual lafz and saying mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada, even if the person doesn't clarify what they mean, is shirk asghar. It's considered to be minor shirk. That's why look how easy it is to fall into minor shirk, wal iyad billah. And minor shirk is greater than major sins. Do you understand? It's greater than zina, it's greater than drinking alcohol. It's greater than a person, wal iyad billah, fornicating with his own mother. You're saying, a'udhu billah, how can someone do this? Shirk asghar is greater than that. Do you understand? Meaning, it's easier in the sight of Allah, less harmful for the person's iman in the sight of Allah to make zina and have zina with his own mother than to commit, than to say mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada. Do you understand? Just saying mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada is graver in sin in the sight of Allah than a person stealing, a person drinking alcohol, wal iyad billah, a person eating or devouring or consuming interest and riba. Do you understand? So, and it's al-amru azim, subhanallah. This is not something hakada, a person says mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada and then he feels he can get away with it. No, this is shirk asghar. It's worse than the most major of sins. So, fatanabbahu inshallah. Then the Shaykh mentioned some adilla or some issues. Number 8 is التفطن لقوله. The adhan is 38, صح؟ نعم. Number 8 is التفطن لقوله. لقد صدق نوء كذا وكذا لأنهم لا يريدون أن النوء أنزل المطر بل نزل بسببه وهذا معنى ما في اللفظ الآخر مطرنا بنوء. Basically to pay attention to the statements of the person. So if a person says لقد صدق نوء كذا وكذا, then this is similar to a person who says it rained as a result of that particular star. So the person has fallen into a shirk al-asghar because al-ba huna lis-sababiyya mutirna bi nawi kada wa kada ay bi sababi kada wa kada. This is basically the dalil. طيب. So basically, just to reiterate what we've mentioned previously regarding the attributing a sabab or a means to a particular star, it is basically but there's three basically. There's three attribute. There's three ascriptions. Number one, it's called idafa to tasbib. Basically, if the person believes that the star is independent of Allah and can influence on its own, this is kufr akbar. The second one is idafat sabab, meaning that the person believes that the star is not independent of Allah, but is rather a reason or a means for rain to descend. But the rain was sent to us by Allah. Then this is kufr asghar. This is minor kufr. And number three is for the person to believe that certain positions, when the stars take particular positions and they move in particular directions, then this basically means that there's a season, or they use that knowledge to indicate to seasons and to indicate to the qibla, for example, which is astronomy. Then this is something that is permissible and jaiz. So we'll continue after Maghrib, okay? So we'll continue for about 30 minutes, inshallah, 20 to 30 minutes after Salatul Maghrib, inshallah, and then we will conclude the dawr, inshallah. Just quickly, we have some time, inshallah. Are there any questions quickly before the adhan is called? We have a few minutes, inshallah. Any hal min su'al regarding this? Make sure it's in the topic. Any questions? Do you all understand so far? Naam, akhi.
A little bit of confusion, but I think, inshallah, we clarified it.
Naam.
That's previously you said that if it's universally proven that if two stars align, then the sea, for example, if this
Yes.
sea rises, there will be no fishing.
Yeah.
But then in this one, you said about falling of if it's a falling star, then
Yeah, basically, I was clarifying the meaning of no. It's in the matan. مطرنا بالنوء كذا وكذا. They used to believe that if a particular star fell or moved positions, as a result, rain would descend. Do you understand? But there was no proof, universally and scientifically, that happens. If there is a proof, then it's okay. It's not shirk asghar. But there isn't. Is there a correlation between the two? From what you know, or from what anyone knows, is there a correlation between the movements of the stars and rain falling? From what we know, there is no correlation. So that is where shirk asghar comes into play. Do you understand now? But if for example, the movements of the stars indicate to certain events, such as, for example, the movements of the oceans rising, and this is a big if. This is just an example. I have no idea. I have not studied astronomy. But if that's the case, then we don't call it shirk asghar because of the scientific evidence that we have. Do you understand, akhi? No. No.
Maybe a little bit off topic, but in regards to the one who curses the rain, what's his one who says,
It's impermissible. The one who curses the rain, that's la shak annahu. It falls into the one who curses time. So cursing the creation of Allah and the time, the rain, it's not something that a believer or Muslim should do. Naam, akhi.
What about regards to the topic we've been discussing today? Regards to medicine, like placebos. Placebo.
No.
In medicine, they say, for example, if they give the patient a tablet, there's nothing in it, or it's like a salt or something like that, or just something just general.
No.
And they say, that just them having that placebo affects it, and they get cured, or it helps.
So does the patient know?
The patient doesn't.
But the doctor knows.
The doctor knows that.
So that there's no. So the patient is free from any blame then, because the patient is unaware of this.
Would it be something that could lead to shirk asghar, or could it be part of shirk asghar?
It can't, because the patient is unaware. If the patient is aware and he's being given something, it defeats the objective anyway with regards to but if the patient is unaware, then it can't be shirk asghar, because they think this is dawa. They think this is an actual medicine. As for why it's being done, then Allahu A'lam, it doesn't make any sense. But some doctors, maybe they do it because of some people have waswas. They think there's something wrong with them when there isn't. It's a psychological thing. So just to appease them, they give them this. Wallahu A'lam. No. Naam, akhi.
the weather forecast is like saying what's going to happen in the future.
Astronomy. It falls into the issues of astronomy. So is that your question?
Yeah, like they say it's going to rain tomorrow.
Yeah, but because they're looking at the movements of the clouds, there's a knowledge behind it and a science behind it. Okay, so that falls into the category of astronomy. So they look at the clouds, the movements of the winds, and there's nothing wrong with that. Unless obviously they predict it based on something else which isn't proven universally and scientifically, then obviously it falls into astrology. But that falls into astronomy. Now in the weather forecast. And if you go to some Muslim countries, they say bi'idhnillah. They always add this. If you listen to the forecast, especially for example in Saudi Arabia, mashallah, when they tell the weather forecast, they say bi'idhnillah. They always add it's going to rain in Riyadh, for example, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, inshallah. That's always the best. But if obviously it's considered to be from ilm al-tasir. Wallahu a'lam. نعم صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.